listening to the Arsenal Therapy Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the 15-minute show, part of the Arsenal Therapy Podcast. Today we're going to talk Cristhian Mosquera. He is Arsenal's new signing. He is the player that's tasked with competing with Saliba and Gabriel this season, and he is someone that's been brought in to future-proof our backline. There's a lot of minutes that need to be taken off Saliba and Gabriel, and Cristhian Mosquera absolutely believes he is the man to do it. Saliba has played far too many minutes the last 3 years, and he ended last season with a pulled hamstring. Gabriel, similar, far too many minutes, ended last season with a torn hamstring against Fulham, missing our Champions League run, missing the end of our Premier League campaign, and ultimately requiring surgery. He is back now, but he is someone that requires real rotation, and Arsenal are looking to get 2 players in every position in a window that's really ramping up. But who is Cristhian Mosquera? He is a player that I've really liked for a while. I said on a podcast about 2 months ago that he's the man I would pick to lead Arsenal's kind of rotation options at the back, because he's young, he's hungry, he's tall, he's strong, he's got all the assets required to make a really top centre-back. But ultimately, the reason I like him as well is because he's available for a low wage, because he is in the last year of his contract. Low transfer fee, low wages, development player. And I was comparing it to Dean Huijsen at the time, who would have cost 50 million. And I believe that money needed to be invested in attack. We are seeing that now. We're seeing Arsenal really going for attackers. And Mosquera is a player that can really come in and offer the competition we need at the back. But who is he? He's 21 years old. He played 37 games in La Liga last season, starting all 37 of them with 3,320 minutes, 6 yellow cards, and he played centre-back and right-back. He is a right centre-back primarily. However, he can fill in at right-back, giving us that extra cover if required in there. And his key strengths: security on the ball, progressive passing. He is a player that wants to look forward, get his head up and go. He's not going to play super safe passes, but I would say he's not a player that likes long balls. He is more short and medium game. And his other big strengths: dueling, box defending, and sweeping. He's a player that's very, very good at blocking shots. Gabriel's also very good at that, but you don't see the likes of Saliba and Ben White and even Jurriën Timber throwing themselves at the ball in the way that you will see Gabriel give that wholehearted block. You will see that from Mascara as well. He absolutely loves that side of the game. And with his kind of skill set, progressive passing is somewhere that he ranks very, very high for. Pass accuracy, 91st percentile. Progressive carry distance, 83rd percentile, which is an interesting one. And percentage of dribblers tackled, excellent, 91%, and recoveries, 94. As I mentioned, the clean tackle and dueling, recoveries, sweep and defending. These are things that he is fantastic at, and things that I think Arsenal fans are really going to love. But when you look at his game, some of the things that really jump out with his metrics are his short and medium passing, very, very highly ranked. And long passing, he isn't overly high on the charts with this, but a big part of that is his game rather than his ability to do it. He's not asked to do loads of that at Valencia, nor is Saliba at Arsenal. Saliba isn't a big switch player. He's a player that likes to get the ball down and thread it and move it forward. Bear in mind, centre-backs are always going to rank highly for progressive passing because they're not often passing that ball backwards. Same with goalkeepers. So with that number, I think he is someone that is going to want to move it forward as opposed to go sideways or backwards to his keeper. But most centre-backs should be ranking somewhat high in that category. And when I talk about his ability to go longer and go think forward, here's a prime example of that. Gets the ball, opens up, looks forward, sees his man coming from midfield, plays that ball straight over the top. And that's something that we see at Arsenal. We see runners from midfield, and that can really benefit someone like Victor Gyökeres. If he's playing up front and he's making a run from deep, he can go through. We know Kai Havertz, when he's playing there, loves that run. Mikel Merino can do it as well, those box crashing runs. And that's something that I expect to see a lot from Mosquera, is these passes that he can thread right through the middle of the park. But with duel rate, he won the most duels of any player who contested 100 or more duels last year in La Liga. That is ground duels with 70.5. And that's no surprise, because he is a very clean dueler. He's someone that can do it very easily and wins the ball back without giving away fouls, without giving away free kicks. And ultimately, a successful dueler needs to be a clean tackler, because if they're not, they end up conceding possession, conceding territory, and ultimately putting their team in danger. An example of that is when he was playing for Spain at the under-21 Euros. See the ball here, down the side, comes in, wins it cleanly. Straight away, pops it off to a teammate, and he has it. That ball's going down the line, gets his right leg across, scoops it round Vieira's down, and pops it off to a teammate. That's brilliant play, and that's something that we love to see at Arsenal. We want to see that clean tackle. When Gabriel joined, he was a bit rash in some of his challenges, giving away free kicks, but Mosquera is someone that will stay on his feet first, but can go to ground to win the ball cleanly. He isn't without an error. He did give away a penalty last season for a very mistimed challenge where he just caught the man's foot when the ball was actually there to be won. So there are areas of improvement in his game in that sense. But with his passing accuracy, I mentioned 90th percentile, defensive duels, 91st percentile there. But aerial duels are a big problem. 11th percentile. This is his weakness. This is his big weakness. And one of the things that you will see with Mascara is when the ball comes pumped down the field and he is dueling with a centre forward, he'll tend to put his arms around them and try and go forward with his foot. This happens quite often where he'll aggressively attack the ball and try to get his team moving forward rather than actually attacking the ball with his head. And this is an example here. You see the ball coming down. He dives in. This is a ground duel instance, but he does this with aerial duels as well. Rather than getting the ball 2 feet, or getting the ball in with his head, he'll put his foot in and try and win it, and try to come around the side, or he'll drop it, start pulling his man back and move the play to ensure it's not going onto his head. We'll get into why his heading's a weakness, but that's something that hopefully he can work on, and it isn't too big of a concern long term. But in terms of his touches, you can see more left-sided bias last season. That was primarily where he was used. But you can see his touches are all over the park. And you can see when he was playing as a right back how high he went up the line. So he did play in that position. He did play as a right centre back, and he predominantly was used as a left centre back. Although this is a player that I see coming in more to cover Saliba than I do with Gabriel, although he can play both positions. And he is very two-footed, although he is more right-footed. With his heat map, as you can see, he is looking at the kind of left-hand side more than he is on the right. That is where he played the majority of his games. But as I said, I expect him to be more Saliba cover than I do Gabriel. With his pass map, it went all over the park. Very high percentage, 91% completed, 1997 attempted passes last season, and 822 completed. Very impressive numbers, and a player that wants to be on the ball and wants to ping it around the park. And you can see a lot of these arrows aren't massively long, short, medium, keep the ball moving, give and goes with teammates. He wants to link up with players, very Spanish in his education, and someone that can move the ball effectively. And I mentioned the clean and effective tackling. So look where he ranks. The number of successful tackles, very, very high, 80 per 900 minutes. And he was only given away 0.4 fouls. So a very, very clean tackler. And you can see that in his game. He tracks his man very well. He's very good at making sure he wins that ball cleanly. And this is an example here. See, against Real Madrid, Vinicius Jr. pops it off and he's won that ball. No messing around, no diving in, just stays on his feet and wins the ball. And that's something that Arsenal need, making sure that we are not giving away silly free kicks because we know that refs love blowing the whistle against us. And when it comes to space covering, this is something that really, really stands out with Mascara. And he covers it with ease. I would actually say he's not a young defender in this sense. He's someone that's very, very mature in his sweeping. I would compare him to some of the best in the world in this position, or in this area of his game. He covers ground so well, proper wide centre back, eats up space, and will go toe-to-toe with almost any attackers. Again, another example against Real Madrid. You see him here. He tracks his man. Look at the way he eats up space, and then he stands back up. It's not him that wins the ball in this instance. It's his teammate. But look at the ground he covers to make sure he's closing down Mbappe. Ball comes across. Mbappe plays the pass, cut out by a teammate. And that's what you want to say. You don't always have to be the player that wins it, but you need to be the player that closes the ground, make sure you're covering and making sure that your teammates are in the best possible position to win the ball and ultimately give your team the best opportunity to recover, get back on the ball and go forward again. And that's what Mascara does very well. But his heading, this is a weakness. You can see even in these pictures, first one, where's the ball coming off? It's coming off the top of his head. It's going upwards. And this, for any Arsenal fan watching, should remind you of William Saliba. It's a problem that Saliba has. It's a problem that he had when he came to Arsenal. And although he has got better at it, too often you will see William Saliba miss time in his run and heading the ball straight up in the air. And this is the area I still think that Van Dijk massively outperforms Saliba in. Van Dijk is so dominant and so assured in his heading. He directs it where he wants it to go. If it's a corner, he gets up really powerful and heads it away. Gabriel's like that. Gabriel is really forceful with his head, and he'll go through the back of you. He'll make sure he wins that ball. Mosquera is like Saliba. He mistimes his run, and quite often you will see him heading the ball and his eyes are closed. And again, he's not fully tracking the direction of the ball. So it's a big area of an improvement for him, but it's something that can be worked on. We have got a great set piece coach who will help with that in terms of defending corners, attacking them as well. But we also have Saliba and Gabriel. We've got a player in Saliba that has improved massively on his heading. So Arsenal aren't new to coaching a defender that isn't the best natural header of a ball. We also have Gabriel who can play alongside this guy and really push him and learn and teach him what to do in these positions. So Calafiori is another player in this area that is very, very assured, very good in the air. So I think being around that environment will hopefully help Mascara. And I also think defending against someone like Kai Havertz, who isn't just a straight off smash you and try to win the ball in the air, but takes you to an area of the pitch that you don't want to go. These are things that I think Mascara will develop. But I talk about someone like Kai Havertz. Havertz could really expose someone like Mascara because of the directions and the journeys he takes the defender on around the pitch. And this is somewhere that Mascara needs to improve on, is making sure that he's set to win these headers. But because he is so good at eating up space, he can recover very well. And that's something that I really love about him. And I think he's a player that with time will get better very, very quickly. So over the course of the season, I think you'll see him getting minutes in the cup, potentially rotating with Saliba against the smaller teams in the league, because he's someone that has to play. He's got 90 games under his belt at Valencia. They are a sleeping giant. They're a huge club. Whenever you look at the Naughties, Valencia were very much one of the big clubs in Spain. They won La Liga during that decade, and they had top players. The pressure of playing with them is still there. They are not a club that their position in La Liga does not reflect the pressure that comes. And he has 90 games. He starts every game for them. And they were desperate to keep him. They tried to offer him a big pay rise. He rejected it. He is determined to come to Arsenal. And this isn't the only player that's saying they only want to come to Arsenal because they're bought into the project. He's not coming in as a starter. He would have been a starter at Leipzig. He would have been a starter if he stayed at Valencia. And even at Madrid, he may have got more minutes than he would get at Arsenal. But he's determined to play for this team. And I mentioned the under-21s in the summer. He was a player that greatly impressed in that tournament. He really got his flowers. A lot of people kind of warmed to him, saw what he could do, and he's now ready. He's had his break from that tournament, and he is ready to join the Arsenal Tour of Asia. So he will be going away. He is there early. He will have time to start adapting, and he will be ready come the beginning of the season to actually play football. But in terms of improvements in his game, there are areas. I mentioned the clean tackling. The big part of that is being able to position yourself correctly. If you're positioned correctly, you will be able to win the ball effectively. And that's something that he needs to make sure he's doing, not being over aggressive and coming forward, and making sure that he's not leaving himself exposed at the back. A big part of his ability to recover is his athleticism. So he will back himself to go forward that extra time, because he knows he can often get back and recover. And that was something we used to see from Gabriel as well. He was quick enough to get back, so perhaps he took a risk that he didn't need to. That will come with coaching and experience, knowing when to go and when to stick, because ultimately, not every time you need to go forward, but it is also a gift to your team if you're able to go forward and really aggressively intercept the ball and get them going on the counter. So this is a player that I don't want to see a lot of those things ironed out from. I want to see them just become more timed, more rounded, and just more effective in general. But right now, I see Mascara as a player that's a bit of a diamond in the rough, but someone who is exceptional at certain things like sweeping, covering the ground. He's very good at getting his arm across a man, shielding them, protecting the ball, and coming away with it very, very cleanly. And it's that cleanliness in his play that I have to keep emphasizing because he is so good at it. And then when he has it, he's composed on it. I go back to that instance where he played the ball over the top. These are the kind of passes that I expect to see more of from him because he's very, very good at them. And he knows when to release. He knows when to go long, when to go short, and when to play it through the lines. And with Arsenal, we've got Zubimendi coming. Zubimendi's a player that will move out of the way and allow centre-backs to carry. I mentioned at the start that Mascara has a very, very high ranking for progressive carries. Saliba is very similar in that sense. They're two players that are going to be happy going on a journey up the pitch with the ball. Mascara is Spanish schooled, and he is comfortable dribbling with the ball at his feet. He's big, he's strong, he's powerful, and that's something that I think we'll see more of this season. But ultimately, with Zubimendi in the team, he doesn't always want the ball. He is happy to create space for teammates. And similarly, when you've got Zubimendi in front of you, communication is going to be easier between these two players in Spanish, and we're going to have a player that is comfortable playing it short, playing it sideways, and going all around the pitch, but playing it in a progressive way, the way Arsenal want to play. In terms of this deal overall, I would say this is a very exciting one. The big long legs remind me a bit of Rudiger, Konate, Gabriel, that wide centre-back that covers space very well. Could he be a centre-back in time? I don't know. That's something that I think players more often grow into. I think the exception is someone like William Saliba, who was able to do it very, very young. But you look at someone like Diomande at Sporting, who was crowned kind of the future centre-back, and he's really dropped off. So he's a player that might come back. But the centre-back role is something that he could do because he's got enough quality in his technical ability and his ability to read the game. But a big part of that is improving your ability in the air, and that's why William Saliba's had to work so hard at it. But this signing, for the money on the table, what it would cost, the variation in his game, the way he can play and the way he can cover both positions with both feet, this one excites me. This is exactly the kind of signing I think Arsenal need to make. And at 21 years old, goes a bit against the grain of the more experienced players that we're buying this window. So ultimately, this really gets my seal of approval, and I'm very, very happy to see this player come in. Give us your thoughts on this. If you've enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. Please drop a comment and tell us what you think of Cristhian Mosquera, and please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for all the support. We'll see you again very soon.